Hello and welcome to the Fat Doctor podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Asha Lamy, author of the book No Way, Everything You've Been Told About Weight Loss is a Lie, advocate and all-round troublemaker. Once declared Britain's most outrageous doctor, question mark, by a reporter for the Daily Mail. It was the online Daily Mail, which is super disappointing. I realised that I never actually made it into print, but still, possibly, maybe, according to one well-respected journalist for the Daily Mail, I may be Britain's most outrageous doctor. Oh yeah, I am, baby. I have my notes. I just have to put them over here. Today, the title of this episode is Abandon All Hope of Success. And I have literally written this down on a big note that I have put in front of my desk. It's just abandon all hope of success. Kind of like abandon ship. And you might be thinking, oh, Asha, really? Should you be doing that? Yes. Yes, I fucking should. And let me tell you for why. And this is not a sub story, and this is not, I'm not trying to get you to feel sorry for me. Nothing to feel sorry for. And I also don't need you to fix this either. You've done nothing wrong, and there's nothing you need to do to fix it. I'm just telling you how it is. I'm telling you how I got to this place. I left England and moved to Scotland in 2021 or two. Yes, 2022. In fact, it's almost 4 years ago. And when you leave England and move to Scotland, even though it's still technically part of the UK, you have to work. You're working now for NHS Scotland rather than NHS England, and that's slightly different. It's a whole bunch of paperwork, really. I needed a reference from my previous employers, and my previous employers were terrible human beings. Again, I'm not going to name and shame them, but they're really not good people. And they really did not take to me coming out as transgender. I came out as transgender the year before. I was also off sick for a while because they had exploited me for some time and I burnt out. And I had two very sick children and, COVID and blah, blah, blah. So I'd been off sick. So they didn't like that. They had to pay me sick leave. They did not like paying me. I don't actually think they had to pay me out of their own pockets. I think the money came from somewhere else. But anyway, they did not like the fact that I did not perform the way they wanted me to perform. And they couldn't exploit me because they were great at exploiting you. They did it nicely, like, oh, Asha. Well, I was Natasha at the time. You're our hero. Please do more work. And they pretended to be your friend and they were not your friend. And when I asked them for a reference, they went, no, which I don't think you can do. But they just went, no. My boss actually had to give me a reference. So his reference was, yes, they worked here. Um, but it made life really difficult for me to get to work for NHS Scotland. Like I was like chasing around, like begging people to give me a reference. Like I have a spotless fucking career. I worked for 20 years in the NHS and never once had a significant incident. Never once fucked up enough to like cause major harm to a patient. Never caused irreversible harm. Never made a mistake. Never missed an important diagnosis. Like I really like. I'm not saying I have a stellar career, like everybody makes mistakes, but like I'm not one of those doctors that really fucked up. I was also really nice to my patients for the most part. My patients like me, and I know this because I had good high patient satisfaction. Like there were questionnaires, and like there were reports, and like I scored quite well. I had lots of I did a lot of additional work, I had a bit of what we call a portfolio career. I was a salary GP, so I was never the boss. I always worked for someone else. But yeah, my previous employers were absolute assholes, and they're not good people. And I really, really hope that they're tired and miserable because that's what they deserve. They deserve to be tired and miserable. They don't deserve to be happy because they really exploit other human beings in a way that they, should be held accountable for and never will be. Anyway, so I at the same time it's really hard to be trans as a doctor. I don't know if you know this, but medicine is a very transphobic environment. People really don't like trans people anywhere, but that is also the case in medicine. So I was really struggling as a trans person, coming out as trans and transitioning to work at a place that felt safe. It didn't feel safe. And over the last few years, there have been incidents where trans doctors have been viciously attacked by the general public. have had their licenses questioned, their fitness to practice questioned, and all of that stuff just for being trans. Also, on top of that, of course, I was doing all of this work as a fat doctor, and it started off for fun. Like, I started this just because I thought it was the right thing to do. I wasn't supposed to be a career. It wasn't a career choice. It was just like this is something that I'm doing on the side. As you can imagine, it may have pissed off a few people. So I really wasn't welcome in medicine. I've had to accept that I don't really have a place in clinical medicine anymore. I'm not sure I want to work in clinical medicine anyway. I think it's a very problematic place. It's a very problematic employer, healthcare. So not sure I want to do it. Anyway, so since then, I have been trying really hard to be a bunch of other things. I wrote it down. I've tried to be an author, an advocate, a business manager, an editor, a podcast producer, and a social media influencer, all in one without any help from anyone else. That's one, two, three, four, five, six jobs in one. And I not remotely resourced enough to do that. Whether it comes, down to time, to energy, to money, no, I do not have enough resources to do even one of those jobs, let alone all six of them. And the reason that I've been doing them is because this is what I do. I my whole life I worked as a doctor with a shitty salary and people who exploited me, and I did the job and I did it well and I did it to the best of my abilities, and I actually had great patient satisfaction and I didn't make mistakes, and like I actually was good at my job, and I just kept pushing, like just do it, just fucking get on with it, like tough, it's hard, it doesn't matter. And there's lots of reasons behind that, and yeah. Uh, I I'm going to talk to you about that next time. But anyway, after trying this for a few years, it's not that I'm stopping it, but I've realized that it's not actually possible to do and be successful in. You can do it. You can absolutely do it. I can absolutely be an author and an advocate and a business manager and an editor and a podcast producer and a social media influencer, as long as I don't care about the fact that my social media accounts are kind of like, nah, and that my podcast is a bit rough and ready, and that my books are never going to be like polished and are never going to be successful, and I'm never going to sell that many copies, and that's actually trying to get people to buy shit from me is just going to be miserable the whole time. I'm just going to be fucking miserable doing it. And, I need money to pay my bills, but at the same time, I've never wanted to run my own business. Like, I've never had business aspirations. So, yes, it's not fun. So I can do those things, but I can't do them. I'm not going to say well, but successfully. I can't do them successfully. And I guess some of you might be saying, "Oh, Ash, it depends on your measure of success. Your markers of success. Like, what are your markers of success?" And you're correct. I do hear you. But I'm not going to lie to you. I spent a lot of time on writing No Way. It was like months of my life, and it took a lot out of me. And I really had, I don't want to say high hopes. Like, it wasn't like Sunday Times bestseller list. Like, relax. I was being realistic. But I had high hopes by now that I would have perhaps in some way changed the conversation, that people will have bought the book, and that maybe some people will have felt challenged. Some people want to know more. Some people have wanted to, I don't know, interviewed me, invited me to speak somewhere, been like, "Oh, wow, this is really interesting stuff, Asha. This is great. Like, tell me more." I didn't, okay, like, let's be honest. Part of me was just like, yeah, I really want to get invited on, breakfast TV as like, here's the author of a controversial book called No Way, Everything You've Been Told About Weight Loss is a Lie. Dr. Asha Lavi, welcome to the show. Like, part of me was just like, yeah, I really do want that. Part of me was like, oh my God, that sounds horrendous. I really don't want to do that. So I don't know where I stood exactly, but yeah, I'd hoped to sell a few copies, and I did sell a handful of copies. I did. Nowhere is near as many as I hoped to sell. And it's not because I was hoping to make a lot of money out of them, because I knew that selling copies wasn't going to, break the bank either way. Amazon makes sure that that's not possible. They're, at the end of the day, Amazon is the one making money, not me. But I guess I was hoping that it would be something more than what it was. And this This is what happens. Like when I'm like, hey guys, I have this new thing that I'm doing, and I really hope it will help you. And like, here it is, ta-da! And you all are like, cool, thumbs up. And I get it. You're busy. You have other things to do. You have other priorities. You have other things you need to be spending your time on, your energy on, your money on. Like, and there's all these things competing at the same time. And maybe this is not a priority for you, or maybe and also I get emails all the time from people who I'm really fond of and who I think are great. And they're like, hey guys, I've got this new offer for you. And I'm just like, okay. Because life, right? Especially life in 2026. So I get it. As I said, this is not a you problem. You haven't done anything wrong. And you don't need to fix it. And you don't need to feel sorry for me. You don't have to feel any way about it. I'm just telling you why I'm abandoning all hope of success. Because the disappointing is fucking crushing. And it's because it's tied to my self-worth. It's tied to my self-worth because I'm one of these people, and again, I know there's quite a few of us out there whose self-worth is somewhat determined by external validation. I need someone to pat me on the back and go, well done, good job. Otherwise, I don't feel like it's a good job. Otherwise, I'm continually questioning whether it was good enough. And I feel like I'm not good enough because it wasn't good enough. The book, I can't just look at the book and be like, yes, I did it. I wrote it. Look, it's sitting on my desk right here. Look at me with my little smug face, my little charming little. And like, it's fucking here. Look at it. I wrote this. Just, like, look at it. And I should just be proud. I should be able to hold it in my hand and just be like, amazing, amazing. But actually, what I do is go, yeah, it's amazing. And also, not that many people bought it. That's the truth. That's the truth, people, and I'm going to tell you for why. Because I have daddy issues. Have I mentioned that in the last few episodes? I think maybe I might have. I'm getting to it in the next episode, building it up. I can't wait. I really hope that the episode gets back to him, by the way. Like the reason I'm doing the next episode is not for you. It's not even for me. It is fucking revenge. It is my revenge episode. It's like, hey, daddy, you're an asshole, and I'm about to tell the world about it. So you get to enjoy that next week. But in the meantime, I'm abandoning all hope of its success because I realize that I need to let it go. I need to let it go, let it go, let it. No, don't sing, Asha. That's a mistake. Do you know? I didn't think that the testosterone was having any impact on me, but I think maybe my voice has dropped a little bit because I can no longer sing songs that I used to be able to sing. Anyway, um, I have to learn. I have to believe, not learn. I have to believe because it's one thing to learn it and another thing to believe it. That what I do or say has value, inherent, intrinsic value, regardless of how many copies I've sold, regardless of the metrics, regardless of the listens and the likes and the follows. Because, if I'm basing it just on the listens and the likes and the follows, I will be continuously disappointed. Because in fact, if anything, if I'm tracking the metrics, it's just been getting steadily worse and worse over the last few years. I was more quote unquote liked, and isn't that terrible? Just the word likes. I mean, like it sets you up. It really feeds into the the external validation thing. I had more likes, a year ago, 2 years ago than I have now. And so if I'm tracking the metrics, I'm getting worse and worse and worse. I am liked less and less and less. Fewer and fewer of you are listening to my podcast. And so if I were to base my not my self-worth, now I'm talking about the value of my work. If I was to be basing that on the metrics, then I might as well just bother and just pack it all up. Give up. What's the point? And I don't think it's because the work isn't good enough. I think it's because the system is set up to be loud and noisy and distracting and to prevent people um from hearing what you have to say because there's just too many people competing for your time. I think that's what it is. I have to believe that I'm making a difference to people, and it might not be on a grand scale, but that's okay. And that whole like, if I can just change one person's mind, if I could just make a difference in one person's life, I'll be happy thing. I've never really said it because I've never felt authentic. I don't want to just change one person's mind. I want to change the fucking world. And I grew up saying I wanted to change the world, not like I wanted to change the whole world, like not like Miss Congeniality, world peace type. I want to change the world, like just like in my little corner of the world, like I wanted to make a difference. I've always wanted to. There's an optimist in me that has never really been silenced or stifled, that just wants to change the world. So making a difference in one person's life doesn't feel like it's enough. And that's wrong, I think. Or maybe it's not wrong, but that's probably not healthy. Like, it shouldn't be about the quantity, it should be about the quality. So I'm telling myself. Um, and then this other thing that I wrote down, and like this one I think has actually been the most powerful thing for me. Remember that it's not just you, Asha. I am just a tiny cog in a machine. Like, I am not going to fix weight stigma in healthcare, but like also drop the grandiose like ideas that I'm the only one that's able to fix weight stigma in healthcare. Like, it's not just me. Loads of people are doing this. I'm just part of it. And so there are people who are more successful than me, who have a much bigger voice, a much larger mouthpiece, who people are always comparing me to certain content creators. So people are always like, oh, I really like your work. It reminds me of, so and so. And like, I'm not going to lie, that hurts a little bit. I'm like, well, okay, that's different actually. But anyway, I shouldn't. Like, that's an ego thing. I should just accept that, yeah, because we're all working together and we all have our own like part to play and our own skills and our own thing like that we bring to the table. And like, it's not just me. I'm not going to fix the world. Collectively, we're gonna make the world a better place. So all of this is me abandoning all hope of success. And I think what you're probably beginning to realize is I'm not abandoning all hope of success. I'm abandoning the definition of success. I'm abandoning what the world considers success or counts as success, and also what I have grown up believing is success. um I grew up in a home where like people really measured your worth, like literally measured your worth, whether it was a test result or something that you achieved, something you were able to do. And it was very much like that in my home, but also it's like that in life, right? Like, it's about it's often about productivity. You're seen, your value in society increases the more productive you are, the more like you're seen. And it's not even about how productive you are, it's about being seen to be productive. But the irony is that the people at the top, the people with all the wealth and all the power, are really fucking lazy. I know they say they work really hard, but they don't. They exploit the working class, the proletariat, as Marx would say. They exploit the working class. They take the working class who are working hard and doing all the shit and also being creative and coming up with ideas and like fixing things. They take that, they exploit it, and they take the wealth that comes from that, and then they go, look at me, aren't I amazing? No, you're not amazing. You're really not. Like, you're just exploiting people. If you look at all the celebrities out there, like, there are lots of people who are singer-songwriters, right? The vast majority of them, you'll never hear them, you'll never know who they are, and they'll never be successful, quote unquote. Some of them will be successful. You know who they are. They're famous. They're on the internet, and they're on Spotify, and you download their tunes and iTunes, and maybe they're in magazines, and maybe you pay to go see them in concert, and all of that stuff. Like, and some of them are millionaires. Some of them actually make it. Some of them actually get famous and become millionaires. And then there are a few who are billionaires. And that is not the same thing. That is literally not the same thing. Look at Bad Bunny versus Taylor Swift. Two very different things. Taylor Swift is a multi-billionaire. And billionaires cannot achieve their level of success by working alone. That's not how it works. To be a member of the ruling class, you didn't get to where you got to by working hard. You got to where you got to by exploiting other people. And I think I'm so tired of believing that, like, if I just work harder, I will be more successful. It's not true. It's a lie that we've been sold. So don't feel sorry for me. Abandoning all hope of success is actually one of the most liberating things I've ever done. And I'm learning that I'm not a failure just because it didn't turn out the way that I hoped it would. And fuck the voice that is in my head telling me otherwise. And if you'd like to know more about that voice, tune into next week's episode, which is entitled, I'm the Child of a Narcissist. See you then. Oh gosh, I just winked. That's very embarrassing. It's like doing finger guns. Sorry about that. Apologies. Let's do that again. See you then.